Welcome back to the Overwatch League, everybody, and you're joining us for the second match of the day in North America, at least. Of course, the Vancouver Titans versus the Toronto Defiant. We've got a Battle of Canada, and it's going to be shaping up to be one that is... do I want to claim, Josh, that it's one for the ages, or do I want to leave that for the next match?
I'm not quite sure yet, but the Battle of Canada has been fairly exciting so far over the past couple of iterations that we've had this year. These teams have been clashing a couple of times, so especially with both of these teams kind of leaning into the Genjis a little bit, I think it could be interesting.
Yeah, and we've got a connections presented by Xfinity as well. It's really detailing and showing you guys as well the history that these two teams have had, because it is the battle for Canada at the end of the day, and it has been reasonably back and forth, and I cannot think of a better meta to kind of see these two teams face off as well, when they've got seasoned players on the Genji on both sides of the teams.
Yeah, last week when they... last time they played back in week 19, it was actually Toronto that came out with a 3-0 victory, but that maybe skews things a little more in favor of Toronto than you might expect, because Vancouver have been making some large improvements over the course of the really like the last month where they've been together, although it might be a little more than that, where they've started to gel as a team, and they've got Shockwave and Dalton performing on all cylinders moving, and they've started to look pretty competent. And the time before that, it was in our Summer Showdown, and they pushed it to a map 5, so it's competitive between these two teams, and I think they both want to be the best team in Canada.
Yeah, I definitely say so. I mean, there's definitely something that goes into play regarding that as well. You want to be the dominant team in your so-called, region, even though, these teams are playing against the North American ones on a regular basis. And we actually spoke to some of the resident Canadians that are on both of these teams to see what they thought about this upcoming match.
I don't think we're feeling any extra pressure about the match versus Vancouver. I know that they're the only other Canadian team in the league, so obviously there's like a bigger desire to win, but yeah, I don't think there's any extra pressure on us. I think we're just gonna take it slow and, play it like a regular match.
There definitely is an added desire to win when up against the Toronto Defiant. The last couple of times that we've met, they've beaten us, so everyone on the team is just super motivated to get our revenge.
Welcome back, everybody. Yeah, so, being Canadians, typically the stereotype is that they're very polite.
Yeah.
I think that applies here, at least when, because I know for a fact we tried to goad them into a bit of banter, and they weren't having any of it. It was like, yeah, it's going to be a good match. It'll be
Rolf
nice to
sounded
win.
like Rolf said he wanted revenge, after the last time when they beat them 3-0. So at least Rolf's getting in there. Also, maybe this is just me as an ignorant Brit, but Rolf definitely sounds more Canadian to me. So I think they have the advantage in that sense, even though there's more Canadian players over on Toronto.
There's an advantage because he sounds more Canadian.
Yeah, I suppose that's intimidating to me. If I go up to somebody and they sound very, very British, I feel like a lesser patriot.
So if I start talking a bit like this throughout our cast, and we've got a Toronto starting lineup that's coming up right now. And as we take a look at this, take a gander over at the support line, Cruz and Roki. Very unusual.
Yeah, quite interesting. And you are intimidating me. I feel like a dirty northerner.
Yeah.
So
I'll stop.
I have a theory here, Bren, as to why Roki is in. We saw the Valiant playing up against Houston Outlaws, and Valiant ran a Pharah on Nepal. And I'm wondering whether Roki has been subbed in here to play some Mercy instead of Kariv being in the starting lineup in order to kind of facilitate some kind of counter composition like that. I'm hoping we see some interesting strategies coming out, because Toronto are teasing something here.
Yeah, and honestly, Vancouver as well. I think they're a team that's probably quite suited as well to running some of those situational compositions that can throw teams off guard. They're often a good substitute for sort of, I guess, a lack of fundamental team play that some new rosters, when they're just being put together, have. You can often substitute that with, we call them cheese compositions. I think it's a bit disingenuous to call it that, because there is a bit of strategy that goes into it, and it doesn't exactly neglect a lot of team play. You still need it to execute some of these compositions, but it can fill in some of the gaps and allow you to get some of those wins. And statistically speaking, the Vancouver Titans have got some pretty potent gamers, if you will, that have been playing both the Genji and the Tracer. You can see Dalton's been playing a lot of that, and Shockwave as well, who's very proficient on a lot of these hit scan rules.
Yeah, and don't let the distribution of heroes fool you here. Both of them are really, really flexible. Whenever Shockwave has picked up the Genji, if he duplicates one on Echo, basically, he's looked really superb on the hero too. And Dalton is starting to find his footing a little bit more with the Genji role, I think. So this is really interesting to me, whether Vancouver can spread out a little bit wider than just the Genji Ashe that we've been seeing in the meta so far and try and pick up some other compositions, and what Toronto have in store for us when it comes to Nepal, because that's where we're going to be starting off. Take a look at our map set. We are here on Nepal, and it's specifically that village. It's the village role.
Yeah.
That's what I'm interested in.
You made me laugh then, because it sounded like you were trying to do an American accent when you said map set.
That's just how I talk, Brent. If you want to shame me for not being British enough, we've already gone through this.
I would love to shame you for it. I mean, I feel like we can get away with it now. You cast as somebody for a long period of time, you're friends with somebody for a long period of time, you can take little digs at people.
I'd say we're colleagues, not
colleagues, acquaintances. Yeah. Yeah, more on that side of things. We are going to be getting into the match soon enough, as they have just booted up the game. And yeah, Nepal, to go back to the previous conversation, a lot of situational compositions that you see on this. In particular, that one stage village. You see so much stuff. Traditionally, you see a lot of May compositions actually come out there, but we haven't seen May.
We haven't seen much May at all in this current... Well, we saw it a little bit in this patch, but in the Summer Showdown. But this week of no hero pulls, almost everyone is playing the Genji kind of compositions. Recently, I mean, very recently, we just saw Paris play some May when it came to Hanamura, but it wasn't that successful. They played it for a little bit. They managed to crack open point A. They had to move back over to the Genji. So I wonder if people are starting to move away from May for good, or, you know, perhaps the next patch when Genji gets nerfed, everyone will be back on the May. It's a bit of a wait-and-see scenario, but you're not going to see it coming out here from either of our Canadian teams. It's going to most likely be the Genji Ashe mirror on both sides. And as Roki picks up the Batiste, that's where we're going to be looking at the Toronto Defiant, because if they have some kind of niche strats for the other stages, Roki's still going to hold his own here on the Batiste, which would have been their power player Kariv holding it down.
And both teams just opting for a mirror composition, though, as they roll out here. And that's an insta-kill. There you go. The Shuriken to the dome takes out Shockwave. It's going to be evened out, though, as Cruz goes down. It's all up to Agilities. Another beautiful right click, but Dalton is making a mess of the back line. It's actually just carnage right now, immediately. Straight off the back of it. Look at that. Agilities tried so hard to try and clutch it up, but Dalton... That fight was going this way, that way, every single way you can think of, but he was the one who came out on top. He was the one who came out on Supreme. There's still match when it comes to building up those blades, that big ultimate, but here's that replay, just so you can see what Dalton was getting done. Everyone's just ignoring him.
Yeah, and he's right in the thick of it with the rest of his team too, and Vancouver pushed forwards really aggressively, setting up space for Dalton to just get into the mix, whereas Agilities was picking off individual players on the flank, so a bit of a difference in the style of Genjis. And Roki, this player who's been subbed back in for Kariv, is going to pop his Amp Matrix to begin this fight.
The Amplification Matrix will go down. That's going to push them away, but you can see immediately answered back. That was Dalton trying to use the blade, but shield bashed Cruz. Locked him in place. His team were able to take him out. Wonderful little play there. Now, still, Toronto want to be pressing their advantage. Remember, they are currently a player up, rolling forwards, but now the ultimates are going to start to get committed on the other side of things. Shredlock with the supercharger is going to be providing his team with enough passive damage boost being amplified for them to just win out this team fight. It's one of the most impactful ultimates in the game. A lot of people don't think that. It's often, you know, goes by unnoticed. It's a little bit subtle in sort of the effect of it, but generally speaking, you lay down a supercharger, you've got a pretty good chance of winning that team fight.
Shredlock did go down, though, at the end of this fight, and that's going to allow Toronto an easy approach through the choke point, because Shredlock's still going to be getting back with the rest of his team, and Toronto have so many ults to be able to work with here. 5 ults, including double support ults and double tank ultimates. They should definitely be favored here for a recap. If they can make this economical and only use a couple of ults, they're in a great position for the round in general, actually. But first steps first, got to win this fight.
Yeah. Bob's going to be traded out. The Gravitic Flux from Nevix as well. He's going to be lifting a couple of the members up, and it is just going to be a clinical cleanup here for the Toronto Defiant. You can see, again, when you've got that many ultimates, it's going to be a miracle if you end up losing the fight.
We've seen teams do it, though, Brent. We certainly have.
Yes, we have, unfortunately. But, yeah, the Toronto Defiant winning a crucial team fight, obviously. If they ended up losing that, would have been the round. But an opportunity now for the Vancouver Titans to come back into this one with a couple of ultimates of their own, which is the danger zone now for Toronto.
It really is. Toronto used a lot of ults in that previous engagement. 4 big ultimates. They don't have much to combo with Agilities. If they had saved the rally or the supercharger, they'd still be in a really good position. But now Toronto with a Naked Blade and an Amp Matrix, this is going to be tough. It's all relying on Agilities here.
Yeah, blades are almost coming up. You can see they traded once again the Amp Matrix. No team pushing off of it because if they don't want to risk anything, still Agility's going in with the blade. That was an aggressive immortality field as well, just to support him, keeping him alive. Oh! Agility's beautiful mechanics. Look at that. Finding the necessary pickoffs even at the tail end of his blade. And it's rare to see an aggressive immortality field, but every now and then you do see it and it pays off.
Yeah, it's really good in this meta in particular, actually, because it allows your Genjis to play so much more aggressively, especially when Agility's blade was the only thing that could have saved them from the inevitability of that team fight going over to Vancouver. So now we find ourselves in a situation where, honestly, this is the deciding fight. Vancouver have got so many ults available here, but Toronto are going to start to take up to their own. They're going to have a flux, and if they can make the fight last longer or get a pick from Logix, they should still be in a decent position.
Should be in a decent position. The Titans do have a lot of ultimates to work with here. Roki goes down the blade! Comboed up with a supercharger. That's what they call a super blade. And you're going to find that they instantly win that team fight over. The overtime burns, and no one is able to contest it. The Vancouver Titans, yeah, it was a bit of an inevitability, and it was an uphill battle for Toronto to try and come back from that, especially when they were down on ultimates in that last team fight. A great showing, though, for the Vancouver Titans, I think. This is a squad. Again, I say this every time I cast them, but they have a lot to prove. You've got to think about this. This roster came in, you know, right off the back of potentially one of the most dominant rosters in the Overwatch League's history, essentially being vacated out. They came in and they have to fill in these shoes, and realistically, they're playing for their positions on this team as well.
That's true. You've got to imagine that the Titans organization originally thought that this roster was a bit of a stopgap just to fill the pieces until the end of this season when they reboot in the off-season. But if these players can prove themselves at the Overwatch level, then they'll probably get another shot. That's a lot of pressure in every single match to perform.
Yep.
Especially when they're playing on high ping, but those are some nice shots from Shockwave really early on. Nearly killed Numlocked.
Yeah. I mean, if Numlocked didn't pop the Fortify then, I think he did at the tail end of it, just to negate a bit of the damage. Could have been an early pickoff, but again, these are the players that have been performing. Shockwave and Dalton, the DPS duo for the Vancouver Titans. Time and time again, they always come up, and they can be the difference maker when they're playing against some of these more seasoned teams. Toronto just trying to gain positioning here. They don't want to give up the point, almost capping up here. You can see the Titans contesting it. Defensive dash there from Agilities just to go back to the safety of his team while Shockwave pops the infra site, so he's going to have
already
more
up.
And again, no one has capped this point yet. Still uncontested, but now Toronto Defiant are going aggressively, pushing straight into them, trying to get pickoffs, but Shockwave with 2. Numlock went down. Logix with the follow-up here. A bit of a pincer movement going on from him. And that's beautiful from Shockwave. Make it 3. He's cracked it wide open for his team.
That's absurdly good play from Shockwave. Not even the kills that he just got towards the end of the fight there, or really to win the fight for his team, but the fact he had Infrasight in the first place by doing all of that damage to Numlocked at the beginning of the round, it's huge coming out from the Vancouver Titans Widowmaker. And he's already up to 42% again because he just keeps hitting these shots. Toronto don't have anybody that can really push him out. He's favored over Logix in all of these duels. They're gonna have to find another way to win here, Toronto. They can't challenge Shockwave and run into his sightlines. He's hitting everything right now.
On the other side of it, it is going to come down to Agility's blade. You can see he has it. The thing is, it's quite difficult to get value out of it. I think on this particular section of Nepal, it's a very long sightlines. So you have to get positioning first before you use the blade. And Vancouver Titans, they're going aggressive. KSA with 2. Okay, why not? Agility's trying to even it out with his own blade as he moves into the backline. He just wants one more. He will get it. Kaka and Dalton gone down. Roll for the next one. Agilities, that is far too clean for my liking. Oh my goodness. That is so many kills going his way. He wants to find another one as well. Those right clicks just going to be shredding Shredlock. Building up his blade for the next time. Already up to 40% to the next blade, Josh.
Yeah, that's pretty huge. Dalton hasn't quite found the same value from the Genji that Agilities has on this map entirely, even though Vancouver are 1-0 up here. Shockwave is going to find it difficult, I think, to be able to push back in and find these sightlines, but Toronto are giving him a lot of respect. They've backed all the way off. They're going to give him space to be able to work with.
Yeah, the infrasight will push the positioning of Toronto out of the line of sight, so they have to play a bit more defensively, at least for the next 5 seconds or so until it fades. Supercharger comes down, Agilities! Wow. Whoa, that is some reactions. Rolf just takes him out, one clean orb. And that was with the Supercharger, that damage boost on top of it, able to take him out. Still, Dalton falls, which means it's an even fight. Shockwave needs to come up huge. You can see him perched up right here. A classic position, gets a bit of damage off. One more headshot will do it. Ooh. Logics. It's going to end up falling. KSA going to be sent up into the sky from the Toronto Defiant's Gravitic Flux, and Nevic's going to be trying to even it out, and he does bring down Shockwave. Feels like Toronto Defiant are the ones who are coming out on top in this fight, but a halt off the edge of the map. Cruz gets taken off. This is so scrappy. Agility's forced to bring out the blade just to even it out and at least make it a little bit more cleaner. And it is squeaky clean. As you can see, they do win the team fight out. Much needed as well. A bit of a crucial team fight win for them when you consider the percentages.
It's pretty rare that you have a party on the balcony when it comes to Nepal Sanctum, but everyone wanted in on that. Vancouver are going to be coming back in here. They've got a window to try and open up. Both teams do. But the Flux and the Blade, Dalton's got to find value with it. He hasn't been that effective on Sanctum. Hasn't found value any time that he's gone for a flank. But if he can get put in the right position here... Immortality Field already used, though, from Karkar.
Yeah, and Karkar dropped the Amplification Matrix just to try and get through the choke point. Immortality Field gone down, but no one was really even in range of it. Dalton committing so much to try and bring it down here. It's all up to Shockwave. He's got to try and turn this team fight around, but no one is able to touch this one, and the Toronto Defiant, off the back of that singular team fight, are able to take it. And I got to say, looking back at that previous team fight, I wasn't really too pleased with the way Karkar placed that Amplification Matrix. Yes, it pushed them and allowed them to get through that initial choke point, but it just went to waste. I mean, Toronto Defiant just moved straight out of the line aside of it. They kited back the ultimates, and that was really how they were able to take it.
Yeah, the Immortality Field being used as well, so you don't have that for Dalton to go aggressive. Dalton got no value out of his Genji in that round. Yeah. Not any at all. I think he got one blade, and then that was it, right towards the end. Didn't get anything. And it's so unfortunate that Titans weren't able to put anything together there after Shockwave went on a blitz spree of just headshotting everybody. Now he's moved over to the Doomfist, so we've got a Doom Genji. And on the other side, Agilities is on the Junkrat.
Yep. Someone tell Jake, get his eyes on this game. I mean, he's always pleased, but Shockwave with the punch. Takes out Cruz, flanking from the side as well. He's finding so much value with this. Look at the damage he's pumping in. He's going to be blocking a lot of it as well, just moving out of the line of sight. Another hit will do it. And it is beautiful to see when you see some of these Doomfist players, what they're able to do. I am not capable whatsoever of performing any of these actions that you're seeing on your screen. Every now and then I try and pull out the Doomfist, but it requires so much, I think, intricate knowledge of how to play that particular character. There's a lot of small techs that you can do. We call them techs, you know, jumping up on ledges and things just to really maximize what you can get out of the character. Shockwave makes it look easy, though.
Interesting here that Agilities and Logic are committing to this team comp. They've teleported onto the point and immediately killed Dalton. Shockwave needs to be able to find something, but he's caught in a steel trap. And he goes down. The perfect scenario for the Toronto Defiant. Getting big value out of that teleporter as Logic just flies from one to the other.
You can start to see the value out of it. Running this Junkrat along with a sim, it is very difficult, I think, to push through any sort of choke point. When you set up a defense, maybe when you rotate back to point, it becomes very difficult for them to try and get any work done.
But the Genji and the Doomfist are very good counter picks. They can annihilate Agilities or Logics really early on because they don't have much health. They're pretty squishy, and they have to play at the front lines to be able to get much damage output. So Shockwave can just punch and get immediate picks. And now that they're coming back in, both ults available for the DPS players from the Vancouver Titans. Big Flux in as well.
Big Flux, look at the tire, comes straight out, and it's going to remove the Immortality Field, but Numbani from the side. He is just absolutely ripping into them. So much work already put into it. He's got 2 kills for him, and even fight, but it looks like the Vancouver Titans, yeah, they're going to be losing it. Karkar just going to have to speed his way out of there. Wants to save onto that beat for the next one. Toronto holding on, and another unintended, or maybe intended here, effect of having the Junkrat as well, is you've got so much shield break. Even when the opposition is running a double shield like Orisa and Sigma, those shields just get obliterated as they try and get any space.
They definitely do. Symmetra contributes so much towards that as well. Like another one moving forwards here. Beat and the Flux invested really early on.
Yeah, the Beat's going to be protecting them for a short while here. As Titans are going to be trying to win this team fight out. A lot of the utility gone. Shockwave will fall though. He fell very low. He's trying to get work done into the back line. Amplification Matrix laid down, but too little, too late. Vancouver Titans mistiming that one ever so slightly, and it means Toronto Defiant will win another crucial team fight. And now they are one fight away from taking this map away Vancouver Titans with realistically no ultimates to work with.
Desperation territory for them here. And Shredlock's going to move over to the ball in an attempt to hold, but Agility's tired. I mean, how do you stop this? There's no counter. You just got to try and kill it. Desperately try and kill it.
Yeah, and Rolf goes down. He tried to avoid it by jumping up, and is anyone even going to touch here? Agilities gets the kill onto Shockwave as well, makes it a third. And Shockwave trying his best to get fined, but luckily the filter takes him out. As Agilities pumps in the necessary damage to close out and clinch up that map. Toronto Defiant, great showcase of, I think, a lot of different compositions and real individual skills there from Agilities.
I'm just giggling at Shockwave typing some obscenity in the chat that got filtered.
I mean, I don't know if there is a filter, but I think
who knows?
The players are just, they type the asterisks, I think. Just to tease us, you know, just to try and make us think it, maybe.
Yeah, try and goad us into thinking tensions are running high.
Yeah, or they're just being toxic. I don't know.
Yeah,
it could be either.
I think that the Vancouver Titans would have loved to try and win that first map. They went up 1-0 really early on, and then Shockwave hits all those shots, and it all falls to pieces slowly. Great first map win, though, from the Toronto Defiant, showing us some interesting comps.
Yes, yeah, and we're going to be seeing a lot more of it as well. We're going to be going to a quick break. When we come back, the rest of the series will be continuing. Don't go anywhere. You got enough time to maybe get a drink.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Overwatch League, and yeah, we've got a bit of a series in our hands. A lot closer, I think, than maybe some people were anticipating. But the Vancouver Titans are desperate for a bit of revenge against the Toronto Defiant to see who is truly the best in Canada. Is it a title that most Canadians would fight over? You know, trying to see which city reigns supreme. I don't know. Most things that I've been led to believe about Canada it sort of implies that they're quite nice. You know what I mean? They're just friendly people.
Just because you're friendly doesn't mean you're not also competitive. I know that a lot of the Canadians that we have in the league are hyper-competitive as well.
Sure.
They all want to be the best.
Yeah, on an unnecessary note, though, as well, Josh, I'm wearing a green pastel T-shirt today.
Okay.
And a piece of fashion advice I received like a while ago. I have no idea how relevant it is, but it goes green and blue must never be seen or something. I don't know.
Right.
It's like
Are you sure that's not blue and green should
blue
never
and
be seen?
green
Because that does rhyme, whereas
that
the other one
rhymes.
doesn't.
Yep, not the other way around. Maps-wise, we're going into Havana. But to continue this previous point, I was confused because I'm wearing some, in my opinion, pretty nice blue shorts, and I think it goes pretty nicely with the T-shirt. And I was like, am I wrong, or is it the people in the fashion industry who are wrong?
Is this at some point coming back to the Vancouver Titans in their team colors? Because if not, this is just the wildest tangent ramble.
Actually, not really, but that's a good point. The Vancouver Titans have got like a very,
they got the blue
very
and green
kind of
going
harsh green and blue going on.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's a classic color scheme of the Vancouver sports teams.
Yes, it's unusual though, isn't it? Like you don't normally see those kind of primary.
It's bold, it's vibrant.
Colors.
Yeah, it's like a big
bold.
sports thing.
Whereas I've gone for a more sort of soft approach to the blue and green. Now the people at home can't see my blue shorts because if I stood up, I would eclipse the camera because I'm a giant of a human. But the game at hand, well, Havana,
Brent. Let me.
Do you want to get us? Do you want to wrangle us back on track?
Yeah, let me wrangle us back on track a little bit because Shockwave absolutely popped off on Nepal's Sanctum on the Widowmaker, and Havana is a really powerful Widowmaker map. At least the beginning portions are, because these sightlines are enormous. They're really long. They're outside of the effective range of an Ashe. Really, you can get still great value out of the Ashe, but Widowmaker, this is her playground. And if Shockwave's hitting shots like he did on Nepal, then the Vancouver Titans should be absolutely in a fantastic position to at least take a lot of time off the clock on point A, if not hold them here. It can be a pretty difficult first point to push.
Now he is up against Logix, so
yeah, Logix is also great, but
don't put all your eggs in the Shockwave basket. Or against Logix. That's what I always say.
Yeah, the famous quote.
Come out with a lot of quotes, Logix. Holy moly. Okay. Yep. Setting things off nicely. Opening headshot, but answered back immediately. Shockwave with the headshot up to Cruz. KSA following up as well.
That's really nice.
That is necessary as well. The Vancouver Titans were looking at almost a lost push immediately.
Yep, fantastic shot there coming out from Shockwave that we didn't see on camera. But what we did spot was really nice coordination between the Vancouver tanks to halt Logix in and then take him out. And Toronto are going for this flank all the way around the other side, with Logix just holding the tiny angle through this doorway.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's quite difficult, I think, as well, for the Widowmaker players to get any value, but Logix again gets the better of his counterpart. Taking him out in a 1v1, and now Logix has a bit more free space to work with. The dash through from Agilities as the damage has been pumped in. KSA solo will go down to the right click. Once again, Deflect going to be cancelled early as Agilities wants to just lay down the law and the pain. Dashing through the opposition. Once again, the Toronto Defiant reigning supreme here.
Good job, team. Let's keep it going.
That is a nice sort of 3k in the kill feed for Numlocked. Realistically speaking, the damage being done by probably the rest of his team.
Yeah, and Logic's opening that entire thing up as well, because once you don't have to be scared of the Widowmaker coming out from Shockwave, you can push forward into those sight lines so easily. So yeah, fantastic first picks from Logix. Both of the DPS players on the Toronto Defiant outperforming their counterparts. And they're just pushing forward, stopping Vancouver from even being able to contest.
Ooh, okay, I like this recontest coming out from Vancouver though. They want to be trying to go for it for the blade now by Agilities. He's got the armor pack on as well. Dash through the blade, swiping through KSA, taking him out. We'll be forcing out a couple of ultimates there. It was almost great from Vancouver, I think, the last minute contest there. You know, they kited the amplification matrix from Roki well enough. I thought they might have been able to do it.
Oh, Shockwave can't really afford to go down there. He needs to be with the rest of his team in order to set up some kind of defensive presence. They've given up so much room now. Toronto Defiant have taken control so deep inside this area. They've just taken control of the entirety of the high grounds, and they have double tanks ultimates up.
Riveting flux by Nevix, just trying to stave off this aggression. Multi fields are going to be used. Transcendence as well. So much being committed for Vancouver to try and push through this choke point, but thankfully they are rewarded with a kill. You get a second one. Nevix falling means that both the tanks are down, so this is an easily winnable fight. They just got to find these stragglers. There's a couple of people just kind of just lurking around in the lower section here, staying alive. This is a big stagger onto Toronto Defiant. realistically speaking, you probably should have just reset that one straight away, because you're just buying more time for the Vancouver Titans to build up those ultimates and set up a good defense.
Really important fight for Vancouver to win as well. Double tank ultimates expended from the Toronto Defiant, and Vancouver still come out with the win. Dalton getting value with his blade too. Everyone from Defiant had to turn around, use a bunch of abilities to try and shut him down, and the rest of the Titans forged on forwards. They're going to have a Flux here to defend with as well. That really could be enough to just stop the Defiant in their tracks. Obviously, Logix is going to have something to say about it though as well, as he takes this flank angle and looks for a pick of his own.
So hard though. I mean, he's constantly running into shields head first. The Amp Matrix again from the Vancouver Titans.
Oh, destroyed.
They catch out Numlocked. Yeah, he must have not had the Fortify to escape.
The Flux and the headshot is just absolute demolition, no matter which way you slice it though. You get a fully charged headshot, and then that time they don't even have to combine it with the Flux damage, but if you do, you're going down no matter what.
A difficult scenario here for Toronto. I mean, they're being pushed back a lot and staggering a lot of these team fights. Still, Shockwave holding down the flank, seeing if he can get a shot or two. Toronto opting to just move in that way anyway. Remember, they do have double shields. It can be quite pesky for a Widowmaker player to try and get past. That's a unique angle. Logix finding it onto Rolf with the rotations. Again, that's all from Toronto, moving around the right flank, forcing the positioning of the Vancouver Titans.
Really nice shots by Logix. He has provided the opening picks time and again for the Toronto Defiant since swapping to the Widowmaker. He wasn't playing it much on Nepal, but he's been fantastic on it here. He's about to get up his infosight as well. Probably going to mirror Shockwave, who's already got it popped. He knows where everyone on Defiant is positioned, but he can't do anything against it, and Agility's in with the blade. 2 kills already.
Yeah, and they were just kind of on an island then. A difficult scenario to really even get out of. Yes, Kaka had the immortality field, but I mean, when your team, when it's being focused down that hard, Toronto Defiant knew exactly what the win condition was going to be. And it's going to be, probably, yeah, it's going to be an easy second point capture for them. Vancouver Titans going to be forced now to try and set up a close little corner defense here while they have the opportunity. They do have ults to work with, which means they could get something done. But Logix has the infra side up, which is worrying.
He's going to be trying to take a really wide angle here, swing out past the shields. KSA is going to be the only person that can shut it down, as well as Shockwave. Oh, Dalton getting really aggro here.
Yep, using the blade, going to see if he can get anything done, but again, where's the backup from the team? Where is the follow-up? Ends up falling with the blade, which is not ideal, and Toronto Defiant are happily able to collect up as many kills as they possibly can off the back of it. Rolf with no choice but to try and stagger out and stall out on this card. KSA, I mean, yes, you might be Sigma. Okay, he's going to use the grass just to get out of there. Agility's though hunting for a little bit more.
Getting up top, just locating the positioning of Shockwave 2, helping his Widowmaker in the duel. Obviously, there's going to be a Sigma shield up top too, so Shockwave isn't really going to be vulnerable in any sense. But just trying to put pressure on him, make sure that nobody's lives lost as they approach with this with the payload towards the final checkpoint. Yeah. This final engagement, double tank ultimates again available for the Toronto Defiant as Number 1 pops down the supercharger to engage the fight.
A really important win here for Toronto if they can get it, but Shockwave shuts it down. If the Vancouver Titans can hold them here, it would be great. This is a very difficult point to try and even push through. That opening pick is going to be helping them out tremendously. Toronto, they use the supercharger in that last fight, got nothing done with it.
Infosight used here for Shockwave. They know where everyone's positioned. Oh, the jump over. Logix isn't going to peek that though. He knows that it's available. People are not respecting Shockwave's sightlines that much.
Shockwave!
Nice shot.
Oh my goodness, again! Yep, that's a nasty shot to hit as well. Even if you have the wall hacks, like, to be able to get that while he's grappling across, moving at that momentum, that's a lot of practice. Still, they want to be trying to engage into this fight, but Toronto was so weak. Immortality field committed early here. Cruz might be able to come in with the rally a little bit later here. So KSA just moving in with the Gravitic Flux. Again, pumping in damage, but Logix is able to trade it out. Dreadlock falls, and now they're going to be trying to win this one once and for all. Agility's moving in with the blade, but negated. The Transcendent healing. Rolf keeping his team alive, and Dalton will fall, though. Another opportunity, another mark made on this Vancouver Titans squad as they slowly roll this car forward. No one able to contest it, and Toronto Defiant getting a full capture completion on Havana. Quite impressive.
That is impressive. Havana's always a difficult map to be able to complete. And Shredlock going down at the beginning of that fight was the opening salvo that was needed for Toronto to get a foot in the door there. It's a bit of a pity for the Vancouver Titans that they can't seem to string things together from Shockwave and Dalton all in the same kind of fight. You'll have one team fight where Shockwave does really well and then Dalton can't quite get enough value, and then the other way around. Another interesting tidbit as well is that they're both running different support rosters. It wasn't something that was discussed too much in the previous match as well, with Paris playing against the Justice, but Paris, much like Vancouver, have been opting for a lot of BAP Zen, whereas we expected the Batista and the Brig to be very much the dominant lineup. That means that it's way harder for Dalton to do his job because he always has to be worried about the Brigitte shield bash. Whereas Agilities, when he goes in, sure, some of the time there's going to be a Transcendence in his face, like there was in that final team fight, but most of the time, they don't have abilities. They're doing squats? Are they trying to train legs?
Why not, Josh? Never supposed to skip leg day. You just need to take one look at me.
Yeah?
Know that.
What, a gangly pencil of a human?
That's why I said never skip leg day. That's why you need to look at me, because my legs are like chicken legs, Josh.
Right.
That was the point I'm trying to make.
I thought you were bigging yourself up. I had to knock you back down.
I've never bigged myself up in my life. I'm the most humble individual.
Sure, the most humble.
Yeah. Potentially the most humble on our talent team. The Vancouver Titans going to be trying to take an off angle here. I appreciate this from Shockwave. He's got to try and find some openings. It can be tricky as well when you're on this initial attack. Interesting that Toronto Defiant, they don't want to be taking a forward defense. Quite far back here, you notice that a lot of their initial positioning is just fighting around this building, and that's what Vancouver Titans are going to be trying to push out of now. Logic's waiting for one head to just peek forward ahead of that shield. One mistake to be made, and it's already done. Dalton, again, not respecting Logic's. Ooh, but Shockwave answers back quickly enough.
And that pick is more important because Dalton's straight back in the team fight. Massive spawn advantage. And Logix isn't going to get there for a while. So the attacking team of the Titans here have a window of opportunity where they can push aggressive. Great halt from Numlock to stop that aggression, but Shockwave's there once again.
Yep. A little bit of damage being pumped into him. Agilities might be in trouble here. Indeed he is. He is going to fall. That Discord Orb just being laid onto him. And Shockwave is actually kind of nasty with it. This guy is hitting so many headshots. Statistically speaking, I mean, I don't know what the numbers are, but if I was to guess, they're pretty good.
Yep, statistically speaking, of course. Purely going by the numbers.
You know, listen, Captain Planet, you know my number, pal. Hit me up. Send me some of those numbers. In fact, I can just ask you in the break.
Shockwave's nearly got his info sight.
No one can hide.
The Toronto Defiant. Nobody's pushing him on this right-hand side where Shockwave's looking.
Yeah, no one's really paying attention to it, and this is, again, a dangerous scenario, but traded out evenly, and that immortality field is so crucial, but not enough. It fades away at a critical moment, and Dalton cleaving through. Side to side, the Supercharger wasted, and the Vancouver Titans winning out that team fight. This is a great time bank to be working with now as well.
That's a fantastic take of point A. Shockwave stepping up at the beginning of the fight, Dalton closing it out. That's what we want to see, the 1-2 punch from the Vancouver Titans. It's been lacking a little bit in this match so far, but that's what's made the Vancouver Titans into a decent team at the Overwatch League level, instead of just a ragtag bunch of rookies. It's that powerful DPS line that they can boast. Logix is going to try and shut them down, but they don't have that many tools to work with. The ultimates, they've basically all been expended apart from Nevix's.
Gravitic Flux is ready and waiting. Let's see if Nevix wants to expend it. He will. Luckily just dodged the rock, so he didn't get stunned out of it, but ultimates are being committed. Dalton now with his own blade. Tail end of it, just catching Roki, taking him out. And his team are more than capable of just chasing down the remaining players of the Toronto Defiant. Looks like Agilities will just about get out and even take out Shockwave. I think he deflected a shot from Shockwave there.
Yeah, that was the deflect headshot. You can see Shockwave puts a nice one in the chat. Gotta respect it when Agilities is able to hit those kind of shots. That's
so
clean.
good at Genji. Yeah.
Yeah, his mechanics have never been doubted. Agility's maybe a little over-aggressive at times. Those have been the criticisms leveled at him. But in this meta, it actually works out pretty well.
Cool. Logix again winning this 1v1 against Shockwave here. KSA though might try and turn it with this Gravitic Flux. He has it ready and waiting. Or they might just opt to hold it. Remember, they've got 3 minutes. There's not really much pressure here, but the Amp Matrix comes down, and that should force the line of sight. Gravitic Flux catches one, Nevix will fall. pretty dangerous scenario to be in, I think, if you're the Toronto Defiant, but they're backing off. They're using the rally armor to try and stay in this fight.
Where's the
help here? But look at that! Gliding across the sky, Car gets taken out. Clay Pigeon. Now Agility's... Oh my god.
The blades turn it as well.
That is so nasty with the blade! Please! Can't keep getting away with this. The supercharger wasted. And that has been turned around. KSA stuck in a corner. Another beautiful hold here by the Toronto Defiant. What a showcase from head to toe.
Logic's aim style is so beautiful to watch. Just smooth aiming. Gets onto people's heads, tracks them through the air. It's glorious to watch. And then Agilities is playing the flank the entire time with 93% of his blade. Comes back in, snaps up the Widowmaker on the other team. And clutches with the blade. But they've again, there's still a window of opportunity here for the Vancouver Titans. If they can get a pick with Shockwave's infrasight, they can push before Numlocked and Nevix get their tank ults up. But they're getting ever closer. Only 20% away on both Numlocked and Nevix.
Yep, the window of opportunity is closing. Going to be finding it now. That ult is going to be
so
buying
good.
even more time. Yeah, they have to run all the way up the stairs again. The future, can't really figure out how to float yet. I can appreciate that, but Dalton close to a blade.
Again, they got dragged off the high ground.
Yeah. So much time has been bought here, but Dalton's blade is realistically what they're looking for. Shockwave desperately hunting for a shot. It's so difficult, though. Against Logix, though, when Logix has got these sightlines on lock, you can see the supercharger as well will, again, force the line of sight because Vancouver Titans, they can't play aggressively into it.
No picks, though. They just get to wait it out. And Numlock's dropped from the battle cattle from above.
Yeah, okay, going for the aggressive approach here, but that might have just bit them in the backside because Dalton's got the blade. Found one. The dash reset is there as he goes up to the high ground here, hunting for a couple of more targets, and that is realistically questionable from Toronto Defiant to want to take an aggressive approach there. Vancouver Titans, they had nothing to go for, but you just gifted them an opportunity to win that team fight.
Maybe you go aggressive as you use the supercharger, but not when it's about to fade, because you don't even get the advantage of using that big ult that gives you extra damage and extra ult charge. Now, the Toronto Defiant going to try and set up an aggressive defense around this point. Agilities with another blade available. Rally Blade could clutch this even despite KSA's ult.
Gravitic Flux gets so much work done. KSA again. Agilities with the blade. Goes for the deflect. Will find it. 2 slashes is what he needs, and he will get them. It's going to be most likely a one-team fight here. The tanks are still alive. Team 4 the Vancouver Titans, but for how much longer? Kaka pulled back into the fight. It will mean the Toronto Defiant are able to hold here. Crucially, I should add as well, because there's only a minute 30 on the clock. And it's a long way to go until that final checkpoint is capped up.
Yeah, it's pretty tough for Vancouver. They had 4 minutes on the clock when they began Point B, but that was sticky for them. Checkpoint B took a long time to be able to get. Now with a minute on the clock, they are not favored. Shockwave thought about going over to the McCree for a while, but I don't know why, because you cannot contest these long sightlines against Logix, so he's back on the Widowmaker.
Supercharger gets taken out by Agilities as well, so they don't even have the damage advantage coming into this fight. Still, KSA looking to work around the off angles. He gets a ton of damage. He's building up this Gravitic Flux at a very rapid rate, but it's going to be Nevix who answers back with one of his own. Dalton trying to even it out. Will find one. Will he get 2? Puts in the necessary damage, but eventually shut down by Nevix once again. Nevix, so crucial for this team, so capable as well, whilst Logix is providing the shots from afar. Easily able to take out anyone who stands in his path here.
Oh, Nevix has stayed alive for so
How is
long.
Nevix still alive here?
That's absurd, honestly, because now we're down to the final 20 seconds. Toronto didn't get a clean team fight win. They finally get the pick on the Nevix. If Logix hits a shot here, it's all over. And even if he doesn't, Vancouver is still in such a sticky scenario. They've got to hit an amazing flux and get big value out of the win.
Oh my god!
Oh, that could be curtains.
That's disgusting, Logix. And now Agilities has the blade. That might be the finishing touches on this. Coup de grace. We'll find out if he can able to pull it out. He's just biding his time. Remember, the overtime is pushing, but now finally unleashes the blade. Gravitic Flux to answer back, and Agilities goes down. An opening, a small one, but maybe they can capitalize. Vancouver Titans moving forward. The aggression is there, capable of finding these kills, but Numlocked brings down Shredlock. The way these kills are going, Logix again in the backline, finding these shots off. No one can pressure him. He's on the high ground. Such a prime position for him to take so many pot shots at the opposition, and it's all up to KSA, the lone survivor, the one man standing who is keeping this card in position. It's not going to be enough for them. And the Toronto Defiant are going to be taking away map number 2 in this series. And they are just one more away from winning this Battle of Canada.
It's been close, though. It's not like the Vancouver Titans haven't made them work for it. Picking up a round over on Nepal and having opportunities to win other rounds. And then coming out here, I almost thought they were going to do it. Even though Logic's got that opening pick, when the rest of the Vancouver Titans tank line was able to push forward and Rolf had his Transcendence up, I could almost feel like they were doing it. I believed for one short moment.
Split moment.
Yeah, for one short moment. But Toronto are just a little too good, proving so far that they're the best team in Canada.
I think this meta really suits them as well. You can say that they got lucky to a degree as well. When you've got a player like Agilities who's world famous for his Genji and you fall into this Genji meta, it's the right timing for it, and they are looking very capable of bringing down some of the mid-table teams that we've got in the league. Still, we're going to be heading to a game break now. Our analysts on the other side are going to be discussing and breaking down this match thus far. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League. Welcome to the Game Break presented by Pringles. Wavy, Zoe here, joined by Costa and Reinforce. And currently, the Toronto Defiant are up 2-0 in our Canadian Cup against the Vancouver Titans. So it looks like they can make this a clean 3-0 in the history of our Canada Cup. I don't know, I think that's what we're going with.
I think it's Canada Cup, yeah.
Sure. Either way it works. And Toronto Defiant are looking good. However, if we're looking at that first map, that was scrappy. First round went to Vancouver Titans, and then afterwards they couldn't adapt. Costa, maybe run us through that first map. What went wrong? What went right?
Yeah, we were kind of interested to see Roki join the lineup. I thought we were going to see a different look from the Toronto Defiant. Maybe we'd see some Farah. Roki would be coming in to play the Mercy, because when I talk about the Toronto Defiant and a lot of other people, I think Kriv is never someone that anyone expects to be taken out of the roster, but he's doing an incredibly good job of playing the Baptiste, and it was a scrappy map. But I don't even think this is because the teams were playing that poorly. I honestly think the individual performances from all DPS players were incredibly good. We saw Dalton and Agilities going back and forth on blades, getting high value, and then we had Shockwave and Logix just trading blow for blow. There were some really cool things and like people really shining. I was hard on the Dalton Genji coming into this series, but it seems like he feels a lot more comfortable when Shockwave is on this hit scan. It gives him a lot more room to work with rather than this dive style that we saw them struggle with over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, there were some wonky compositions, though. Like, Vancouver Titans obviously showed that they couldn't adapt to what Toronto Defiant were bringing on Village with the Junkrat and the Symmetra, right? So there's still some things to improve, even though both teams looked quite good.
However, when we went over to Havana, that was a real trade for blow. There were so many moments where it really looked like Vancouver Titans is having the upper hand, but then it still was Toronto Defiant actually coming out on top. Reinforce, could you make sense of that?
No, I couldn't really, because it was so surprising to watch. It felt like Shockwave carried almost every fight, and he had a pop-off moment after pop-off moment, but then we saw Logic starting to claw things back as well and got his fair share of headshots, and then we had the Dragon Blades. I think that Toronto Defiant did a really nice job of just playing their composition's strength, which is that they were playing the Baptiste and the Brigitte, and they were playing close corners and just walking over their opponents with that rally and the Inspire, of course, that Brigitte provides. Meanwhile, the Vancouver Titans, they played this Zenyatta, right? So they want to spam things out, they want to take these long drawn-out fights and perhaps stay away from their opponents. So I think Toronto Defiant did a really nice job, but then you had Shockwave on the Widow, got some nice clutches. Dalton didn't have as good of a game on this map in particular, but overall, pretty impressed by what the Toronto Defiant brought with this Orisa composition, now that we do not have hero pools anymore.
I honestly don't have a whole lot to add. I completely agree with what Johnny is saying. I think Shockwave really took over this game at certain points of it. I just think they really struggled to convert that into objective wins and objective time. It felt like Vancouver had a lot of control on the map, but they were never really getting the right holds. And every time the Toronto Defiant got their foot in the door, they busted it wide open and pretty much finished the map and held them where they needed to hold them.
For our crunch time presented by Pringles Wavy, I would like to zoom in and look at that Genji head-to-head, because that very often has been a difference maker. Costa, maybe walk us through the numbers here. Who got the better end of the stick?
Yeah, if we were looking at a difference in this second map, especially on Havana, I think you have to really look towards Agilities. You just look at the difference in final blows that he has. That's showing that he's executing and finishing these fights very, like, when it needs to be done. Dalton is really struggling to close out when he has the blade, and I think that's one of the woes that the Vancouver Titans are having and why they're struggling to really turn it into objective wins. Also, Dalton is dying 7.4 times per 10 minutes just on Havana. That is so many deaths for a Genji. I think Agility's had less than half of that. So if I'm Dalton, he needs to choose his blades better and he needs to find his windows better, because it's not like you can even point to the rest of his team. I think Shockwave is really doing a good job of forcing the team to look at him. So it's up to Dalton, I think, if this series is going to turn itself around.
Now, Reinforce, we're heading over to Numbani next. What kind of adjustments do you want to see from either of those teams?
I think if you are the Vancouver Titans, I think you can still rely on the Zenyatta, because you have pretty good side angles on Numbani. Specifically, if you're playing the defense, you have point A, you can stay far away from your opponents, and then on point B, you can take the high ground as well if you manage to capitalize on that. So I think that none of the teams really need to change up anything. I think they just have to improve the small mechanics within the two compositions, and I think we got a good Numbani ahead of us.
Right on. Let's see if the Titans can string it together and maybe start their comeback here in our second half. And for all the action, we once more head back over to Bren and Sideshow.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Overwatch League, and you're joining us in the middle of the series, the Vancouver Titans versus the Toronto Defiant. And it's shaping up to be an interesting one for sure. The Toronto Defiant just one map away from taking the entire series, and this has got big implications actually as well for the Countdown Cup, something that we haven't really been talking about a lot. But if the Vancouver Titans end up losing this series, they will have to play in the play-ins for the Countdown Cup. They'll be in either the 12th or the 13th seed, doesn't matter which one, because you're in the play-in essentially, and you're playing for your tournament life.
Yep, and that's the same situation that the Vancouver Titans found themselves in the May Melee, actually. And that's how they ended up playing against the Toronto Defiant for the first time this season. So they're familiar with being at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to qualifying for these things. But in the Summer Showdown, they actually managed to get a pretty decent seed, and they looked all right when they got there. It didn't particularly help them, though. So I don't know. I feel like being in that 12th, 13th position, obviously no one likes it, but for Vancouver Titans, it'll provide them another opportunity to play against another lower-seeded team and prove themselves once again.
Yeah, as we head into our maps, we're going to be moving over to Numbani. And yeah, like the play-ins being a good opportunity to prove the Vancouver Titans, even if they lose this, Numbani is a good stage as well to set this this potential final map. Hopefully not, because the Vancouver Titans will be wanting to get this reverse sweep on the way.
Another interesting factor of this match, Brand, something that we haven't really revisited, is that Roki has stayed in the entire time. They've been running Roki, and he's only basically been playing the Batiste for them. This would seem to imply to me that Kariv has been benched for some reason, possibly ill. No idea. I don't personally have any information about that. Maybe the teams have been tweeting while we've been casting and I've missed it. But there's clearly something going on here, because normally you would expect Kariv to be in the starting lineup playing that Batiste for them. He's been pretty good this season. Batiste not normally the role that you would associate with him. He's normally well known for his Ana, which has been fantastic in previous seasons. But he has been good for Toronto. It's unusual not to see him in the starting lineup, and it's good to see Toronto doing well without him.
Could be a variety of reasons as well. I think it's quite important to get your immortality field timings down in this meta more than any other, I think, when it comes to using them aggressively, defensively. It doesn't matter which way you use them. But, you know, sometimes certain players might struggle to adapt to a meta. I'm not saying that's the case with Kariv. It's kind of just me speculating.
Spitballing,
yeah. But it could be a variety of reasons as to why we're not seeing him. But it's nice to see Roki still. As the timer runs down, you can start to see the Toronto Defiant on the attack first. Going to be rolling out. Numbani first point. Actually, one of my favorite maps in general to play, funnily enough.
One of my favorites to watch as well.
Yeah, just because of the nature of the spawn point actually being like almost an equal distance for both the attacking and defending team. Creates very unique situations. Sometimes when you're playing, though, it can be a bit of a pain when you get full health, but hey-ho, that's the game.
It is the game. And this top left area is so important to control if you're attacking. You want to try and force people off the high ground. But Logix has got this... Shockwave has got this beautiful off-angle setup, firing into everyone as they try and take the roof.
Oh, and the immortality field just about faded, and that gave the opportunity here. As you can see the Vancouver Titans, Dalton dashing in. Gives a little melee there onto Roki. He's built up a blade already. Built up the blade to agilities, and his agility's only 70% to his, roughly speaking.
Yeah,
so
a big advantage for the defending Genji in that scenario, though, to be able to dash through everybody that's coming up top. And combo with the halts, and the dynamite's coming out as well. Shockwave leading in terms of that ult charge too, as he gets another dynamite on the rest of the Toronto Defiant as they're approaching. And it's going to be round 2. They do have Roki's Amp Matrix here to push people away if they choose to deploy that. But they've already used halt.
Might be opting to use it here to try and push them off the high ground. Still, the accretion will connect, push it away, and now you see it finally being used here. Immortality's used as well, but oh my goodness! Battered down by agilities. They waited too long. They gave him ample opportunity, ample time to build up his own. Then boom. Yeah, I mean, you're going to lose that one when you're on 2 HP. Actually, a pretty nasty scenario here. Rolf is still alive in the backline, and he's taken out 3 members of Toronto.
That can't be allowed to happen. I mean, that's such a good beginning to the fight coming out from the Toronto Defiant with their window and then being able to set up an engagement. especially with the shutdown on the blade, but Agilities just couldn't finish off that kill. Too much damage came into him, overextended a little bit, and then Rolf picks up another 2. That's a bit of a gift coming out here from the heavens for the Vancouver team.
That really is, and it's given them ample opportunity, enough time, if you will, to gain position and back up onto this high ground. They're going to be sending in the ults, trading them out. Gravitic Voice is going to get used here, and it's going to catch a lot of the members of the Vancouver Titans here. Nevix is getting so much work done. They're so low. Car gets yoinked forward, back into the fight. Toronto, back at those 2 picks. Should be theirs to win. Numlock's very low. Kept alive by his support, and nice dash coming through from Agilities, pumping in that burst damage. It's going to be a team fight win. Now, they're able to cap it up. They're going to have a bit of time to work with here when we get to the second phase, so not bad, realistically speaking.
I feel a little sorry for KSA when he's playing the Sigma. He uses his aggression to try and stun and stop Nevix's Gravitic Flux, but he's playing on 200 ping. I mean, he's playing on 200 plus ping, so it's so hard for him to be able to pull off those skill shots, even though he is a really talented off-tank. Just such a difficult situation. My heart goes out to these guys on the Vancouver Titans, these rookies who are playing for their spots, playing for the qualification, and Shredlock goes down immediately there. That's not what they're after. This might just be one final contest at Checkpoint B. That might be the only thing that Vancouver are able to put together now. If that.
Oh, reflects the dynamite as well. Okay. Oh, and KSA's been caught out of position. Shockwave, trying to contest it, but gets the coach gun in the nick of time. Wow, that was really close.
Blade, and
now the blade moves forward. Yep, stunned up. The Immortality Field is aggressive enough, it's deep enough, but gets burnt down and eventually pushed back here. Dalton answers back with one of his own wonderful skills coming out from him. Great display. They're able to stop right in just before it gets into Checkpoint B.
Great shutdown from Rolf in particular. Rolf and Karkar in the back lines. Interesting as well to notice this time that they are playing more Batista the Brig, though the shield bash wasn't as important there as just the raw damage that was coming out from Rolf at the back. Shut down Agilities as he went maybe a tad too aggressive with that blade, trying to buy space for his team to capture the objective. And Vancouver again have managed to reset them. They're holding on just by the skin of their teeth here, the Titans.
It's a difficult one. 2 minutes to take it, but they've got ults coming up online. You see Bob's going to be leaving them in. The Hulk, that was an unlock on the high ground, just trying to pull them back down onto the low ground. But it's going to be the rally engage now from the Vancouver Titans, and they take out Nevix. Using that extra armor, the extra health to just roll forwards, smash into the Toronto Defiant, take them out. However, they've overextended to a degree because Agilities is with the better of Shockwave. He was playing on the flank then. Thought it was going to be easy for them, and that one-for-one trade giving Toronto a bit of a lifeline. Slow siege between them, though, as you can see. The Supercharger, that will cause a massive disengage. Toronto won none of it.
Yeah, they're just going to wait out the Supercharger, but Agilities has done a great job of building up a really fast second blade here. Oh, that pick is also quite crucial. But again, I don't think that the Defiant really wanted to go for a fast push. It's all or nothing to take Checkpoint B. 1 minute left. There's basically just one fight in them. And so, an Amp Matrix to open up, a Flux to whip people in the air, Agilities with the blade. That's the kind of combo that they're hoping for. Dalton, he could throw a spanner in the works here, though. Oh, and Numbani dies again! This is just a catastrophe happening here for the Toronto Defiant. They backed up from that Supercharger, and they haven't been able to establish a position again.
Yeah, this is absurd, actually. It's so rare to see teams get held here in the streets because it's pretty disadvantageous to the attacking, or to the defending team, I should say. Still, Shockwave doing that headshot onto Agilities. I think that might have just shut it down. This is the final team fight right here. Yes, the Immortality Field will save them, but is anyone even capable of touching right now?
The cart has gone backwards.
And they've got it. The cart, yeah, might be in position for them, but Dalton's there with the blade, and he's just working his magic there. Agility's forced to use the blade just to dash into the cart to get the overtime going, but not enough. They're going to be held in the streets, and yes, they got it to near enough the end of Checkpoint B, but near enough is not quite good enough.
That's one of the weirdest final fights that I've ever seen in the Overwatch League, actually. Toronto Defiant disengaged from a Supercharger, but even when you disengage, you still need to be watching angles and spamming areas and putting pressure on your opponents to make sure that you don't just give up all of that space for free.
They just gave everything up.
And yeah, they gave everything up, but also there was some nice shots hit. Like Dalton hit a bunch of shurikens onto Logics, and then Shockwave hit a really nice headshot onto Agilities. These individual picks for the Vancouver Titans just sent Toronto further and further onto the back foot, and they just never were able to push.
Yeah, the initial kill that set things up, it was either the tail end of Shredlock's supercharger, which they mistimed. They thought it was dead. Okay, this is just rolls 3k from earlier. I mean, yeah.
This was pivotal, though. This was really important, because look, Titans only have 2 players alive versus 4 from the Defiant. There's no healers, though, so they can't heal up Numlocked or Agilities. And Wolf in the back can't be dealt with.
Yeah.
That's huge, because if the Toronto Defiant had more time, they would have probably been able to take checkpoint B. There were many other mistakes from Toronto on the attack, but that was the first of them.
It's these little glimpses, I think, of brilliance from certain members of the Vancouver Titans that can make it probably quite frustrating to watch if you're a fan of this team. You want to see them succeed, and oftentimes they do, but sometimes it's not enough. Still, now they have been handed a fantastic opportunity to win out this map and begin this reverse sweep. If they're going to do it, it starts here. And start their attack out. Still, I don't want to cast the curse too much here, Josh, because it's quite common to get full health here on this first point.
Can be a little difficult, but as you said, this is where it would have to begin, so they need to dig deep. Bit of a shield war happening up top now, as Shredlock and KSA, they dive deep. Oh, they're going so far in. Aggressive immortality.
So aggressive! Yeah, they're not even waiting, just going straight in, and it's just a clash of bodies up on the high ground here. Already very low, will fall in the end, and Toronto Defiant, they win out this team fight. You know, that's a night and day from the approach that Toronto Defiant went for. Toronto on their attack, they went for a bit more of a tempered approach. They were really just trying to earn every bit of space they could take, whereas Vancouver Titans probably not respecting the damage output, and decided to just go full steam ahead, and now it's cost them realistically because Toronto Defiant have a big ult advantage.
Yeah, that's always the case when you lose the first fight, though. And this next one, you're going to be engaging for a little while. Going to have to dodge this. And Matrix coming out from Roki, though, too. They need to be good with their disengages here, Vancouver. And maybe push Shockwave down on the flank. If Shockwave can get a pick, running some kind of off angle, then...
Yeah, Matrix play down for both.
So much damage on the Defiant.
Diving into the backline. Agilities is so low, though, but look at this Shockwave. Oh, my goodness. Turning it around. Agility is finding a lot of opportunities, and he has turned this around for his team. He has saved them. Dalton, one of the last remaining members, winning that team fight, critical for them. Could have gone either way, realistically, if you think about it, with the ultimates that were being popped off from both of these teams. But it was the Toronto Defiant who came out on top. Now,
I don't think they respected the fact that Wolf had his Matrix available and Shockwave was on a flank, because Toronto Defiant took so much damage. If Agilities hadn't got that big blade off, they would have lost.
Think about Numbani, if you're quick enough, you can often take the fight away from them. And Vancouver Titans not wasting any time whatsoever. Rally into the blade, seeing if they can get any kills. Or maybe Numlocked will fall. It's the only one they get. Cruz booped off the map as well. This seems like it should be a win now for the Vancouver Titans. Be hard pressed not to find a win out of this situation, as the players are going to start tumbling beneath them. And it's going to be a quick point A capture now, with a bit of time to work with.
And a bunch of ults to work with as well. They didn't have to use either of their tank ultimates in the middle of that fight. A very aggressive play, relying on Dalton's blade to get big value after they clumped all of the Toronto Defiant's defenders up. And now this is looking good. 3.5 minutes plus on the time bank, and a bunch of ults to be able to work with. And look at that blue box. They do not have to push it that far. As you said, Brent, it is hard to defend in the streets.
Very difficult. Ults are online. The Vancouver Titans are using their supercharger, but Toronto have wrapped all the way around, and they've used one of their own, but it's out of position. Numlock's supercharger gets taken out, and that means that they've got a huge advantage, the Vancouver Titans, to push into this team fight. As you can see, rolling into them. A critical team fight win for them because, well, 3 minutes on the clock, and they only have to win one more team fight.
It was Dalton with a big Dragon Blade that saved the Vancouver Titans on point B. Can Agilities do the same? They've got a window and a flux to work with too. Neither of them really synergize that well with the Blade, but I think it's going to be on Agilities here to stop them. This final fight, potential final fight, The Vancouver Titans have got a blade of their own.
They're not trying to touch this. That Matrix is laid down. They're going to find it very difficult to even get onto the point. They do just in the nick of time, but again, Agility's now turning it around. The blade is unleashed, and he has found so much damage, so much work. Wow, that was almost too close for comfort. The Vancouver Titans as well ended up using a bunch of ultimates to try and win that team fight and try and get it over with.
Yeah, look at this replay as well. Agilities with the blade, clutch exactly when it matters. Gets stunned down in the beginning, but he doesn't care. In, just the dash is so efficient. Good. He's spatially aware. He knows exactly where the entirety of Vancouver is set up. And like you said, Brent, they invested a lot of ults, and I can understand that. Vancouver wanted to win that fight. They had all that they needed to be able to win it. And they still have 2 minutes on the clock to build up more ults. So, not disaster just yet, but Toronto are in a good position with that first pick to keep some momentum going.
So easy for them, being made ever so harder with every single team fight loss. This is definitely going to be a team fight loss. The longer they stagger it, the worse it's going to be. It's like ripping off a band-aid. Sometimes you just got to get it over with.
Agility's already building up to another blade. That is monstrous. These are the kind of things, I mean, we saw it from Sparkle in the previous match. He seemed to have a blade in every single team fight. Yeah. Well, this is every other team fight for Agilities, and that's good enough. A good blade here to reset Vancouver, and they're looking at one final push with their ults.
Final minute for the Vancouver Titans. Still winnable for them, but you got to imagine the pressure is now starting to get to them. They've got the rally to lead it in, but so do Toronto Defiant, and they've got more than that. Trying to contest this, Agility's diving in, taking it off angle. Bob's going to be laid into it. Logis goes down, deflects the coach gun into him, ends up falling to it. Supercharger though. Toronto Defiant trying to win this team fight. The blade comes through. Agilities, will he get the value he's looking for? Slashing through the opposition. They could not stand up to it. But the Vancouver Titans, they made a smart decision. They didn't commit too many ultimates and they backed off.
And now it's that desperate situation. Vancouver Titans, they're gonna have the Supercharger, the Blade, the Amp Matrix to try and set things up at the beginning. They can use Bob to contest. They have the tools that they need to be able to take this. They just have to avoid losing players early on. Look at Bob up on top of the bus like a...
heck? Oh, well, see ya. Yeah,
looking like Hulk.
You can't be jumping up on top of vehicles. Vancouver Titans, though, final fight for them. This is it. This is everything on the line. For them, but Rolf goes down. The Gravitic Flux to lead it in. Dalton with the blade. He's got to turn it around. One slice goes through. Two as well. Will he get Agilities to deflect this there in a nick of time? Finding so many opportunities here. They're so low on the side of Toronto Defiant. They've got to get some of these kills. The dash through. Dalton, will he get the second one? He will. Dalton coming up huge right when his team needed it. The overtime is going to start to burn, but it will not fade because the Vancouver Titans are capturing up this objective, and they are going to be taking the map. Joshua Wilkinson, the reverse sweep starts here.
It certainly could. Numbani, what a performance from Vancouver. Individual plays on the defense to be able to rattle the Toronto Defiant as they failed to even capture checkpoint B. And then on the attack, Dalton coming up with the goods when it matters. We've had questions about his Genji play and whether he can stand up to somebody like Agilities. But in that fight, going in with his Dragon Blade, kills both supports immediately. That's done. Stick a fork in the Toronto Defiant. They ain't coming back from that. Great play from Dalton. Nice work from them, and this series continues.
Yep, and it's given the Vancouver Titans an opportunity. We kind of settled or you know, raised the stakes, I suppose, of this match as well, just by saying that the Vancouver Titans, they need to win this series, otherwise they will be playing in the play-ins for the Countdown Cup, and that's going to be taking place next week. That's a situation they want to avoid at all costs. Now the question is, can they keep this momentum going? Can they get the second map that they need? Well, we're going to find out. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to see what happens with the rest of the Battle for Canada. Do not go anywhere.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Overwatch League, and you're joining us right at a tipping point, I think, maybe, in this series here, between the Vancouver Titans and the Toronto Defiant. Say again, Josh?
Calling it already.
Calling it already? I said a tipping point, you know, I said it could be. A tipping point generally means that it could go one way or the other.
Sure, yeah, I definitely agree. Definitely. I thought you meant it had already started to tip, but it's a little too early, I think, to call that.
Yeah, well, it could. It could, Uncle Egg. It could.
It could. Don't call me Uncle Egg.
We're going to be heading over to Volskaya Industries, which, typically speaking, you see a lot of these long-range snipers, whether it's Ash or Widowmaker, it matters not. And this is really going to be, again, a lot that's on the back of Logix versus Shockwave, I think. When we look at Volskaya Industries, that's going to be where it's at. Can Shockwave shut down Logix?
And that really was a bit of the story coming into Havana as well. Shockwave performed really well in map 1. But generally speaking, Logix, I think, got the better end of him once we went into Havana. And Agilities was definitely better than his counterpart on that map too. And that's how Toronto ended up being 2-0 into our game break, into our halftime. So I'm not so sure here. Shockwave has had his moments throughout the series, but Logix seems like he's been a bit more consistent. When things go down on Volskaya, I tend to favor the people that have been a bit more consistent, but absolutely, if Shockwave's feeling himself, if they're amped up after that win on Numbani, then I could definitely see this being the tipping point, as you say. The Titans were fired up coming into this match. You know, Rolf, normally a very quiet guy, he said they wanted revenge on Toronto Defiant for 3-0 in them last time, so
it was kind of scary,
I could see
actually. When he did the his interview question, you know, you normally consider Rolf to be a bit of a silent guy, but maybe he's the silent but deadly guy.
Yeah, I could imagine Rolf as a hidden supervillain. You know, someone he's got the quiet guy alibi where he goes under the radar and then actually he's cooking up these diabolical schemes in the background. He's got that kind of vibe around him. I could see him as a supervillain.
Part of that diabolical scheme. Diabolical.
Yep, I'll help you out there, Bren.
Yeah, thank you. God bless.
The other one is video game.
Yeah. Part of that being his win over the Toronto Defiant, I suppose, right?
That's the first step. I mean,
well, Josh,
what do they always say? First step Toronto, second step the world.
Yes, I mean, maybe it's going to be hard for them though, because the Vancouver Titans have never won Volskaya Industries. So that's interesting. They're going to have to break a record here if they are going to be standing a chance of getting this reverse sweep underway. And like I said, it's going to be a lot onto Shockwave. Logix is not opting into the Widowmaker. He's going to be going for the Ash, which is normal. We see a lot of teams do this these days. Ash provides that much more consistent damage when teams are trying to push past the chokes.
But it does give Shockwave an opportunity to take longer sightlines and try and get the pick. Numlock going really weak there. I think that was a headshot coming out from Shockwave. And as they push a little weaker, Shredlock's going to round the corner with KSA. Oh, but Shredlock dies. KSA was stunned there for a moment as well. Cruz pushing forwards to get the bash.
Yep, you're in a troubling scenario there. Shockwave. Dalton, though, is going to be taking out Logix. So, is it an even trade? Well, it's up for debate.
Yeah, that might actually favor the attacking team here. The Vancouver Titans with the faster respawn. Going to be able to push without a lot of that damage coming through.
So much pressure on agility as well to keep Dalton in check. Some nice hyperspheres though from Nevix, I should say. Unloading it onto Dalton. Another amplification matrix going to be used here to force this positioning. And Shockwave, he's moved back over to the Tracer just to stand a chance. Agilities though with the blade. One slash through, but not enough. The Vancouver Titans have managed to cap it out. Going to open this one up. I imagine Shockwave is probably going to be switching off the Tracer now at the end of this.
I love that Tracer pickup from Shockwave, because once you get the opening pick on Logix, you know there's going to be no punishment for the Tracer. You can zip into the backlines, and you don't have to worry about getting headshot or tagged up by a dynamite, and there's no point in running the Widow anyway, because your main target is out. Look at Dalton just farming them up in the bunker there. The dashes do so much damage. And a great shutdown on Agilities too, who was trying to use his blade to clutch. He's done that many times throughout this series, but not that time.
Vancouver have an opportunity to snowball this if they want to. You can see Dalton's holding onto that blade. Kaka with the rally. a lot of opportunities, and now they're going to be using the rally, so leading it in, they've got that better armor, the better health points, but the Gravitic Flux is going to be stopping them. Accretion though, that was wonderful, stops them in their tracks once again, and now Dalton with this blade. Will he find the second target he's looking for? Not quite, goes for Reflecting in the end with the Logics, but Logics will fall regardless. KSA, what a player, what a gamer, hitting the accretion, finding the follow-up damage necessary, and now Agilities will be next. That's a very rapid capture. Vancouver Titans feeling themselves a little bit.
Yeah, hey, they have that enthusiasm, that confidence coming out from their win on Numbani. Vancouver Titans never won on Volskaya, doesn't matter. 4 minutes and 25 heading into round 2. They're looking good already. And that's off the back of a great pick onto Logics, a nice decision to make the swap, and a snowball into point B. That's really powerful stuff. And as you said, KSA, let me remind everybody at home, KSA is playing on roughly 1 billion ping right now. He's playing from the furthest regions of the world that you could reasonably get to. It's pretty comparable to people playing from Korea as well. When we talk about guys like Fielder, the Ping King for Paris Eternal, KSA is playing from similarly far away and on a hero that only deals in projectiles, firing hyperspheres and rocks and all sorts. That's really hard to do on such a high latency.
Yeah, I don't know if people would really appreciate it. There's probably some people watching at home who maybe have a shoddy internet or things don't go their way, and they can probably relate to this, how difficult it is to play the game, and it does hold you back in a lot of aspects if you're not playing on the proper setup, if you're not in set up to succeed. Look at this, the rock just over the shield. That is so wonderful from KSA.
Yeah.
Nevix to do that.
Perhaps you could argue Nevix should have hidden behind his shield a little bit more. You have to be aware of the counterplay coming out from the enemy Sigma, but I'd rather just give credit to KSA for a great rock hit. We were talking earlier in the series about how hard it is for him to do this. Look at this, the wraparound play coming out from Toronto. This is really nice. We've seen a couple of teams try some variation of this strategy. Break the first choke point. And Agilities is back on the Genji.
And yeah, they were waiting for... Probably going to be waiting for Agilities to make that swap over himself and get into position.
Just gives you a free fight on the point instead of having to worry about losing somebody getting through the first choke.
Yeah. Already got in. Oh, Dalton has to use his dash defensively. Not enough. Not enough. He gets headshot by Logics here. Now Logics has been given so much room to work with because look at this angle he's taking. Off angle all the way around. Whilst this fight takes place, the tanks are going to be clashing. No one is really going to be expecting Logics to be flanking like this. It's such a nasty angle, and he can just pump in damage. No one able to contest him. It makes it the easiest take in the world for the Toronto Defiant.
Well, as easily as Vancouver managed to capture point A on attack, Toronto have done even better there. Dalton was way too far forwards. I mean, once... He was trying to get a spawn camp on Agilities, who was coming out
he was trying
and reconnect with his team. But Dalton's so far away from the rest of his team that he doesn't have healing coming out from the brig, and he doesn't have anybody to try and peel for him either. And a really nice headshot from Logics combined with the flank just cracks open A. And you talk about snowball opportunities, well, here's another one. Although Agilities isn't quite up to his blade, they can certainly engage with the rally and the amp matrix.
Yeah. Ramp matrix, Amp Matrix and the rally, the ramp if you will. Certainly what they're doing, they're ramping it up now, the aggression coming out. See Shockwave very low, had to back off here, and Agilities now has finally built up the blade, once again wants to go through, takes out the supercharger, gets 2 kills, pumps in enough damage as well, might be able to get another one here, the right clicks, but he finally gets it, roll full fall, and one snowball for another. That is such a rapid time. As soon as they kill the remaining players here, they're going to be starting to move over to these stall characters. Shredlock will fall on the Wrecking Ball. And one good time deserves another, I suppose, because now, of course, with the new Assault Changes rules, both teams are down to 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Both teams captured with over 4 minutes left in the time bank. Over 4.5 minutes for the Toronto Defiant. But that gets sliced in half. And both of these teams are going to be down to roughly equivalent 2-minute time banks. Which means, Brent, that a lot of this is going to be decided based on your ability to crack open point A. And...
honestly, the way this game has been going, Josh, we could be seeing like a 10-10 half. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we could. Having said that, though, both of the point A takes were, broadly speaking, mistakes from the defensive team.
Yeah.
Like, especially for the Titans, when they were defending, that was a bit of an error coming out from Dalton that I don't think he would do again. Like, it's just not worth the risk to go and challenge Agilities, especially when Dalton has been losing the 1v1s most of the time to Agilities on the Genji.
I think, yeah, I 100% agree with you. If I'm to excuse it, this is where my platinum, well, I suppose gold now, dropped from playing with you.
Lordy. Don't tell the people, Brent.
I don't care. I'm not insecure about my rank, but yeah, I mean, I can definitely understand where Dalton was coming from when he tried to test Agilities coming out of the spawn. I just don't think he expected the Toronto Defiant to adapt so quickly and halt him out of position.
Definitely.
It's really good from Toronto being able to recognize the weaknesses.
And the silver lining there is that if they hadn't made that mistake, they would have held for a lot longer and Toronto wouldn't have got such a great time. So the Titans should be still feeling pretty good, even though that's a bit of a rattlingly good time that Toronto hit on their attack. Vancouver are going to try and respond with one just as good now.
Yeah. Opportunities for them to try and take this one here. The halts are going to be pretty key in setting up some of these fights. Trying to get that damage through. Agility's already up to 50% of his play compared to Dalton's 20. That should really signify as well how much of an advantage you get when you're on the defense. You can take these angles, you can just pump in the damage, the right clicks from on high. Okay.
Great crossfire.
But Shockwave, yep, finds that one. Okay. And that has given them another opportunity to try and take this one straight away. Dalton doesn't have a dash just yet. I was hoping he would get the refresh, but he's got it now, certainly. And that is going to be another quick take here for the Vancouver Titans.
And that's really nice. Vancouver there weren't any major mistakes that came out from the Toronto Defiant. Agility was playing well on the high ground, just denying that position from Dalton. But it was the flank from Shockwave, that little off angle up on the high ground. And suddenly, Agilities finds himself with Dalton in front of him, Shockwave behind him, and he vanishes. He gets expunged back to the spawn in a blink of an eye. And Dalton's got this blade up again. He built so much of his blade in the cleanup from point A.
Off to the side here. Ambitious is going to be stopping this push, which is pretty critical if you think about it. Titans just going to be biding their time though. Patience is key, especially when you've only got a short amount of time to work with, which actually doesn't make sense. Kind of contradicting myself in the same sentence, but it does make sense the more you think about it. Maybe that's just me. My mind's...
Try not to think about it, Brent. I
try not to think in general. But the fight continues as Dalton's going to be rolling through with the blade and he takes out Cruz in the middle of his rally. Agilities has to use a deflect but yoinked forwards, and the Vancouver Titans are in such a good position to move forward with this fight. So successful thus far. They're chasing down the remnants of the Toronto Defiant. Not like the only person left standing on the point here. 2 ticks already. And they're going to be able to hopefully get this one. A couple of seconds, stalling it out. May go over to the overtime, or will it? It will not. 1.1 second on the clock. Wow.
I mean, it's unlikely to make a large difference.
I don't think it'll make a difference. Yeah,
because Toronto would have to cap at light speed in order to have more than a minute on the clock when they start with 2:18. But still, you never know. That's a very good attack anyway from the Vancouver Titans. Whether they finish with 1.1 seconds or not, securing an entirety of point A and point B in 2 minutes is incredibly good stuff.
For a map that they've never won?
Yeah, they've never won on Volskaya, and they look really practiced. They're coordinated with their pushes. They understand how to put pressure on the Toronto Defiant's tank line as well and get the big value out of their ultimates. And Agilities, this crucial player for Toronto, who saved them so many times before with those clutch blades, he hasn't quite been able to get that done. I think that's partly, Bren, because Rolf and Karkar are playing Batista and Brigitte again. They've stopped playing the Zen and the BAP. And now Karkar's on that brick, and that's made it much more difficult for Agilities to clutch.
Yeah, it's I suppose easier for Agilities to be punished in a certain sense. Even though you'd think that it would normally be the Zenyatta that would be sort of mitigating a lot of the approaches from Agilities. Discord Orb being the biggest threat, I think, to a Genji trying to take some of these off angles. But the shield bash is often the biggest deterrent, I think, for a Genji player, and the natural predator, if you will.
Brigitte is the apex predator in Overwatch, honestly. No one can stand up to her.
But 2 minutes is enough in the right hands.
No Symmetra.
No Symmetra to try and bust through. If you want to go straight through this choke point, And they're going to be going for an aggressive approach. It uses dash to disengage once again. The grass is going to be creating some space here. The Hulk pulls them forward. That is some beautiful timing. The Hulk, the dynamite, the dash, it all came together. That much burst damage. No one can really stand up to that.
And that's, I mean, pretty dreadful coming out from the Titans, though, as well. Even though they don't make an individual mistake there, they try and push forwards aggressively on defense. And it's like, as much as we're crediting their attacks being lightning fast, they seem to only really have one idea of how to play this composition, and it is to hold W into the enemy team. Because as soon as that push failed and they had to pop Immortality Field early, they didn't understand how to play defensively. And even to push aggressive on defense anyway implies an inability to play defensively in the first place. Weird stuff from Vancouver, and now their backs are up against the wall. Both Genjis at 80% of their blades. But Toronto have enough time on the clock to play this a little slow. And even that pick, Bren, it doesn't make that much difference.
But we'll slow them down for the time being, for at least a couple of seconds. But yeah, generally speaking, I think if you're being optimistic, they've got 2 more team fights ahead of them.
One, honestly, it's only one, Bren, so? Here. Yeah, they're going to invest all of their ultimates, and so even if they get back in overtime, they won't be able to capture. What I'm looking at here, though, Bren, is that Numlocked is 20% ahead on his Supercharger compared to Shredlock. And apart from that, things are pretty much equal across the board. So if Numlocked can find big value out of the Supercharger, that could be the thing that tips Toronto Defiant the fight in their favor.
Supercharger blade, Matrix, the dynamite. Pumping in the damage from afar here. Agility's falling down to 80 health. Has to try and survive, but now we'll start using this blade to lead it in. The Hulk pulls them together. That is such great teamwork. Numlocked creating opportunities for Agilities to excel at. That's what you want to see. And now 2 ticks. Rubidic Cloak's going to be stopping them from even contesting this one far forward. But Dalton, he's got something to say about it. Tries to shut it down, but Bob will shoot him in the back anyway. A couple of seconds remaining. No one can touch it as the body block comes out. We are 4-4 here, Josh.
Well, you said it, Bren. We could be looking at a 10-10 scoreline. The time ticks down once again. We're still only looking at 1 minute versus 1 minute 16, but it's doable. It's half the time that both of these teams had in the previous round, but these Volskaya attacks have been really fast. Some of it has been great offense. Some of it has been really lackluster defense. It's a combination of both here that's led to these teams just racking up the points on the board.
Ready for battle.
Let's take a look at Vancouver Titans as they they don't have a choice in it. They are attacking first because they have less time on the clock. They've been good at being able to attack previously, but they do seem a little one-dimensional. They push both of their tanks aggressive forwards around. They look for those early immortality fields and try and push Toronto Defiant into the bunker. And it's that kind of herding mechanism that the Vancouver Titans are using. Like border collies snapping at the heels of the Toronto Defiant, pushing them into enclosed spaces.
Though.
What's that, right?
You wouldn't really need a pack of border collies. I mean, normally 1 is enough.
Yeah, 1 or 2 if it's a large herd of sheep.
Two border collies. Very intelligent animals.
Incredibly.
Topic.
Yeah. I think, though, that the Vancouver Titans are slightly more intelligent than border collies.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
They're 4-11, but they are definitely more intelligent than border collies, Brad.
Not really up for debate.
No, it's certainly not.
Well, then again. Well, the Vancouver Titans, they have a minute, a little bit less now that they've trying to work their way in. As you can see, Logix is just, again, on that high ground angle. The Dynamite will connect onto a few of them.
Look at them pushing everybody from Toronto into that bunker. They're worried about Logix, though. Logix has got a really big off angle here.
Someone needs to take care of him, and that's Shockwave. You can see Shockwave moving forward. Headshot into the hip fire. There you go. Removing him again, and then Vancouver Titans. I didn't think it was possible, but it looks like they're going to be winning once again another team fight. With another opportunity here. Agilities will fall just at the tail end of it, and again, it's going to be the overtime, but they're going to get a bit of time to work with here. So, Josh, I was kind of joking when I said it was going to be a 10-10, but the more this goes on, the more likely it looks.
I'm down for the 10-10. They've got 30 seconds to be able to book it over to point B. There isn't that much snowball potential. They've got some ults, but Shredlock and Numlock didn't get anywhere near to their superchargers, which has been a huge, decisive ultimate previously. Oh, Toronto just want to push forward. They're going to
blade it straight away. Agilities with the blade. Again, he's been their savior in so many moments, but this time he's not finding the opportunities. Dalton with 2. Shockwave follows it up with the second. And now there's only a couple of players left. 3 seconds left remaining.
I thought it was a great idea, Brent, but it has backfired well and truly. Dalton got his blade up so fast with those aggressive players.
Logix is dead! Logix is down. The gravitic flux into the back line. Can it be salvaged whatsoever here? Nevix onto the point. It's going to be buying a bit of time for him. The grass goes down, but Dalton again, the clutch. Look at him, the right clicks into the melee. Only a couple of players remaining now. Toronto just staggering bodies onto the point, and it's not enough. 6 minutes. Or 6 minutes. 6
minutes.
Captures, I should say.
Yeah, that's absurd. A 6-4 scoreline, and we're not done. We're not done.
Yeah, okay. Shockwave says 2CP. Numlock says, get me out! Let's lock them in, see how long they can keep going for.
Oh, this is amazing. Honestly, I can definitely do a quick 2-hour block of Volskaya before the countdown comes.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of Schadenfreude here, Brent. That's just it is fun to watch the players slowly lose their minds in these long maps.
Yeah. Cruz and Kaka having fun on the Briggs. I don't know if that says something about their personality, but yeah.
I liked this idea of going aggressive.
Yeah, you know, it could have worked out, right?
But Dalton just got up his blade way too fast on the players that were going aggro, and the rally from Kaka found enormous value. The Titans did a great job of adapting to that immediately.
Yeah, notice how, as well, Nevix was in the back line, and he was very low, but instead of opting to try and focus him down and buy more time for the spawners, the Vancouver Titans, they had the right mind of it. They prioritized the point, they captured it, they stopped the respawners from getting back on, and then when Nevix finally looped back around with his own gravitic flux, they dealt with him then. It's that prioritization of where do you want to dictate your time when you're in those overtime situations, those clutch moments. That's what really separates a lot of the really good teams. But Toronto Defiant now is their opportunity. We'll see if they can get a couple of points on the board.
Titans are playing a bit more defensively here, but Shredlock falls immediately. And Shockwave's really weak. He can't take a flag. This is it. This is another win. Wait. Or Shockwave with the pick, but I don't think that's going to be enough.
But could be winnable here. That Kaka is going to be battered by the Hyperspheres. And yeah, this is going to be another team fight win here for the Toronto Defiant. A never-ending game.
Yep, the never-ending game of Volskaya. We shall tell our children about this. Because they'll actually still be born when it's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be generations before this game of Volskaya ends.
All right, 40 seconds until the time is up. I mean, it's a scenario I don't think we've seen for quite some time in the Overwatch League. Have we ever seen it? I mean, I can't really think of it.
I don't know what the highest scoring map ever is.
But with the new assault rules,
this has got to be close.
It's super rare, like, to see this. So
yeah.
20 seconds. Agilities has a blade, and when he has a blade, anything is possible. Leads it in. Immortality Field, he needs his team to support him, and he's got him. They have his back. 2 kills. Rolling it forwards. The team, Toronto Defiant, are trying to get opportunities, but Dalton trying to clutch it. Has to deflect away here. The blade's not really getting too much done here, but they've divided their attention away for a split moment, and that's given them opportunities for the Vancouver Titans to get into this. The spawners have come back through. Dalton with the dash through. They're connecting these kills. No one is touching here. The Immortality Field gets through in a nick of time, but it's not enough to win the map. The Vancouver Titans walk away with victory. They are pleased, as you can tell in the game chat.
Yeah, finally, says KSA. Shockwave says, as he just smacks his hand on the keyboard. Wow. That is crazy. That is absolutely nuts.
Funny. Wow. Yeah, and with that, the Vancouver Titans are now 1 map away from completing the reverse sweep.
And saving themselves from having to play that qualification game tomorrow to get
match,
into the Countdown Cup.
Wow.
Ridiculous.
Numlocked with the 70% kill participation was asking for upvotes at the end of the game for his card. Do you ever get people in your ranked games, Josh, to do that? I always think it's a little bit weird, you know?
And I don't. But honestly, for Numlocked, he had just such a traumatic experience on Volskaya overall that, you know, rewarded with a couple of upvotes on his card at the end of the game.
You know, quick little serotonin boost.
Exactly. You need to boost him before the final map because I think a lot of mentals are going to be boomed after that.
All right, well, we're going to be going to our final map. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, Lijiang Tower, we're going to see it. Will the Toronto Defiant defy this reverse sweep, or will the Vancouver Titans be walking away with victory? We're going to find out. Don't go anywhere, guys. Coming up, map 5.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Yeah, welcome back everybody to the Overwatch League, and you're just joining us here. Map 5 for the Battle of Canada between the Toronto Defiant and the Vancouver Titans. And my goodness, the Vancouver Titans, single map away here from completing their reverse sweep and escaping from playing in that play-in tournament tomorrow, or the play-in match I should say, for the Countdown Cup. Something that they are desperate to do.
Also, Bren, this is like a nice little tidbit on the side, but that would mean that this new roster of the Vancouver Titans has 3 wins, which is now more than the old roster of the Vancouver Titans in 2020. Because at the moment it's 2-2. They already had this roster already had 2 wins for the organization once they joined the league. So I like to think that that's like them overtaking the previous team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're kind of finally growing into their own, and the majority of their wins will actually be their own. So I think there's many reasons to root for the Vancouver Titans here, but it would also be devastating for Toronto Defiant to get reverse swept. So, yeah, the Canadian fans are going to be split right down the middle, I think.
Yeah, and I was being educated as well by a lot of our Canadian fans on social media, and they were explaining to me that, you know, there is a rivalry between the East and the West when it comes to Canadian teams. Now, if you asked me to point Toronto and Vancouver on a map, couldn't do it, actually. UK geography, not that good. I could tell you exactly where you are in Italy based on the clay of where you were standing, but I couldn't tell you that. Still, there is a rivalry apparently between various hockey teams, things like that.
Right.
Apparently, hockey pretty big in Canada. I knew that at least.
Yeah, you knew that at least.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that Toronto is East Coast and Vancouver is West Coast, and that's apparently someone was tweeting to me actually earlier as well and telling me that's why Rolf sounds more Canadian to my ignorant British ears, is because he is actually from the West. Where people tend to have more pronounced accents rather than the East Coast, where they're closer to, the eastern seaboard of the United States as well, and the accents tend to get a bit more similar. All right, 5th map.
Yeah.
What's your prediction, Brett? Do you actually think the Titans are going to be able to win this? Normally, the reverse sweeps, just anecdotally, it feels like the momentum normally goes with the team trying to complete the reverse sweep.
Yeah, I mean,
but I don't know whether that holds up with stats.
The emotional side of me wants to say the Vancouver Titans, that part of my heart that wants to see a team complete a reverse sweep, especially a team like Vancouver Titans. But, the Toronto Defiant are also fighting for, I guess, to be the dominant team in Canada. There's a lot on the line. I would put it down to a 50-50 as the teams are going to start to roll out here. An interesting comp, but one that we've seen, at least with the Symmetra, pretty often.
I haven't seen Sim Doomfist, though, really.
Yeah, the Doomfist is an odd one.
The Sim is normally paired with others, like the May and this kind of stuff. And Logix has put a teleporter in the backlines as well. It's already broken.
The coach gun, okay, just to avoid a little bit to the side here. And the Vancouver Titans, they found a couple of opening picks, so not too bad for them. Still, Dalton's got to get a lot of work done. Unfortunately, he's being beamed to death by a little miniature turret, locking onto him. Still, the Vancouver Titans are able to get their foot in the door, and they are going to get that first capture.
Agility's now moving over to the May. He decided his venture on the Doomfist was unsuccessful. The Shockwave took him down. The flank from Agility's was kind of a nice idea, but wasn't able to get the jump on Shockwave, and the Vancouver Titans go up. Look at that teleport as well, read completely by Shockwave. So much damage coming out from the Ash player from Vancouver. And they've crushed them.
So good. Yeah.
Wait a second. They're
trying to turn this one. Logix and Nevix do get a couple of kills. Agility's back in it as well on the May. And a well-placed orb from Logix finds the kill. There you go.
That is crazy.
Okay.
Logix's turrets plus his primary fire outputted enormous damage towards the tail end of that fight. I thought it was done, but with Logix alive on that high-powered beam, he can laser everybody down. And Dalton's blade was just not quite there in time. Yeah. That's a crazy teamfight turn for Toronto.
That is crazy. I was convinced they would be losing that one when they laid down the shield, but another opportunity now for the Vancouver Titans to start to lay in a couple of shots. Bob comes in and he does actually get past that wall. The blade's going to be negated partly by this beat, but he's putting enough damage in to it's going to be forcing the positioning of Toronto back around this corner. You can see the amount of work he's been doing here. Agility's just trying to stagger down, trying to freeze up one of the tricky members of the team like Dalton, but he is adequately doing enough damage that Agility's being the last one left will not survive for much longer.
That must be so scary for May. Just in a little
ice surrounded by enemies.
Yeah.
Supercharger.
All knocking at the door. That ice must be made of some strong stuff as well, because you can't crack it.
Ice can be pretty strong, I think.
Sure. I mean,
That's
not
like
enough to stop someone with a hammer and a gun.
maybe it's like super ice. I don't know, it's the future. Anyway, Numbani has the Earth Shatter, but it's tricky getting past these two shields. Lifted up into the air by the Gravitic Flux, but cancelled out. Someone ended up cancelling that one. I don't know who that was, but the Earth Shatter, wow! Numbani lays it down and gets big value out of it. Okay, why not? And that's going to be another turn in the team fight here for the Toronto Defiant. It feels like this team fight, Josh. It's gone backwards, forwards. This point doesn't know which side is rooting for.
Yeah, so close. Agility's and Logix with big ultimates, though, so it's time for the Toronto Defiant to try and hold on to this point for a little longer. Let's take a look at that replay as well. Nevix setting up the Shatter as it comes around the right-hand side, putting in a bunch of damage. It was him. Oh, did he stop? Oh, wow, the accretion through the window onto KSA was what blocked that flux.
That's utterly ridiculous how he's able to find that, but
Red's the
go. You need plays like that. Now they've got another Blizzard and they've got the wall here to try and negate what's being ran at them. Okay. Oh, goodness. They don't expect this at all. Going straight from behind. Okay, going with the Blizzard and they get easy pickoffs because of it. shield going to be laid down just for good measure. Dalton trying to even it out with his own play, but he only brings down Cruz. And Logix is just able to put in so much work still. It could be turnable. Freeze is coming through. Anyone's game for this one. Dalton! How does he get away with this?
Yeah, that's crazy. Dalton does a lot of damage in the middle of that, but I also want to give credit to Karkar, who popped his rally, and that gave him enough armor to be able to push through and past the ultimate that had been erected by Logix's Symmetra, and he got into his face and started swinging. And Karkar did so much damage there with his Brig, and just disruption to the lines of the Toronto Defiant. Great play. The Doomfist now, back on the table for the Shockwave this time. He can get easy punches on Agilities and Logix here.
Really Flux. He's going to be leading this fight in. Nevix is just desperate to try and find an opportunity here. You can see him slamming in this damage. The accretion's good. It connects. Karkar goes down, but that's going to mean the beat from the Toronto Defiant. Leading this in. They're trying to win this round out. They're trying to win it in a dominant fashion. Shockwave trying to put an end to it here on the Doomfist, but not enough. Nevix again with another rock. Connects exactly where he needs it to. The Hypersphere is just flexing on him. So many opportunities here, and one last blade, one last hurrah will not be enough for Dalton, as the round will burn down in favor here of the Toronto Defiant. One step closer to denying this reverse sweep.
Great plays from Logix throughout the round. So much value out of his Symmetra. The turrets there towards the end just denying Dalton. And a great round win for the Toronto Defiant. Really well performed. Nice strategy coming into it. Numlocked as well, picking up the Reinhardt. Recently, we saw Beast come in to play that hero for Toronto. And so Numlocked, you know, he's on a role that he might be a little bit uncomfortable with, considering he's also playing on high ping. So this is a crucial time for the Vancouver Titans. They were so close to that reverse sweep, and now they find themselves on the wrong end of match point.
I just had a flashback to 2016 watching Numlock play Winston on Li Jiang on this particular section. It's crazy that he has come so far, and he might be a little bit step further from denying this one, and again running out with a Symmetra here. An interesting pick here, but Logix is just assassinating from the backline here. He's going to be laying in the damage with the beam. And the longer he charges it up, the longer it gets ramped up, the more deadly it is, especially to a Genji. No deflects are going to be saving you there. Instantly, they crack open this team fight, they win it. They're going to be capping this point up for them as well.
Dalton makes the swap over to the Tracer, so they're going for, I don't know, maybe a bit more of a brawly composition. Shockwave hasn't really done that much on the Doomfist in this round. He was pretty good in the previous round, but his team just died too quickly, so it didn't matter anyway. I'm interested to see what Vancouver can get done. It seems like they've been counter-stratted. They're really finding it difficult to deal with Logix on the sim. So much of this comes down to what Shockwave can get done.
Dalton dies!
And Dalton dies. Oh! Logix giving him the tactical crouch as well.
That's
the disrespect.
Just dirty. Man, what are these orbs? Oh my goodness! The right clicks come out and he just sends them flicking to his enemies. And look at this. The grass can't save you there. The beams, so much power being put behind it. Another teamfight win for the Toronto Defiant. They didn't even have to expend any ultimates.
That's nasty stuff coming out from Logix. The Lord of Tracking.
Wait a second.
This is filthy. This is actually filthy. They're setting up, they're going the other way. Okay, Numlocked isn't going to get his opportunity to go for the big shatter, and Shockwave finds an opening pick. This is good for Vancouver.
Yeah, the Mortality Field is going to be getting destroyed pretty quickly, but the beat from Toronto, they want to still try and fight this out, and why not? I suppose you bring down Shockwave. The ward comes out just to try and mitigate a bit of this damage that's coming through, and Logix again! I mean, he does it all. He doesn't need the hit scan. Just give him any sort of weapon where he can track on the enemy. He can layer it onto them, and now only 15% away from walking away with the series win, denying the reverse sweep, and sending Vancouver Titans to the play-ins.
All comes down to this final fight. KSA and Shredlock, double tank support. Oh, the boop. Oh,
the boop?
No. Did that actually find anyone? I think KSA had to use his Gravitatic Flux just to get back on the high ground.
No one's going to be able to touch this one. So much damage worked into them. The beat from Karkar only connects onto 2. And with Dalton, the last man left standing on the point, the overtime burns. It's not good enough whatsoever. The Toronto Defiant, they deny the reverse sweep. They will not let that crown of best team in Canada be taken away from them. They're going to be taking the series away. What a showcase from top to bottom from both of these teams, though.
Yeah. Really good stuff from Vancouver Titans to make a series out of it. But Toronto can't be denied when it comes to the control points, honestly. Their performance on Nepal and their performance on Lijiang, equally dominant apart from that very first round, where they're just getting so much value out of particularly Logix playing on that Symmetra. Agilities is great, being able to play all of the flex picks, and he was amazing throughout the series. But specifically on control, Logix just had a field day at the end there.
Yeah. That was just really astounding stuff, I think, from Toronto Defiant as well. A lot of teams, the momentum, like you said, at the start of this map that we just witnessed, the momentum does shift in favor of the team that is currently performing the reverse sweep. You would expect Vancouver Titans to be coming out on top just on the basis that, you know, you've won the last two. You're going to be wondering, where would the opposition's minds be at? But the ability for the Toronto Defiant to say, you know what, no, okay, we're going to be rolling out with the same compositions that we've practiced, the Symmetra compositions, to remain strong in mind and just, you know, put their feet down and just say, you know what, okay, we're going to take this and do it in such a dominant fashion, especially in that last round. It is impressive. Our player of the match is going to be Agilities. I don't really think it could have gone to anyone else. You could make an argument, I suppose, for Logix, but Agilities was the one who, yes, was getting caught out of position every now and then from his over-aggressive plays, but those plays, more often than not, set up his team for success.
Yeah, definitely, especially when we think about the first couple of maps and how they got most of those points on the board. The Toronto Defiant have been leaning recently very heavily on Agilities to come out in those big moments and deliver when it comes to the Dragon Blades. And he did that again here. And the Toronto Defiant, a lot of people were doubting them after they made a semifinals run in the Summer Showdown. People were saying, okay, easy bracket, they didn't go too far. Well, this is another opportunity for our Canadian champion here, the Toronto Defiant, to prove those doubters wrong and to go into the Countdown Cup with a decent seed that they can try and make another repeat and maybe another semi-finals appearance.
Yep. So with that being said, though, it is going to be the Vancouver Titans who have to play in that play-in match tomorrow, and that's going to be for their participation to see if they get to participate in the Countdown Cup. It's going to be a tricky one for them, but it's a position they've been in before.
It is a position they've been in before, but I think they can be feeling all right about being in there this time around, if that makes any sense. Because what they've done in this match is that they've gone up against another team that's a very solid middle-of-the-pack team in Toronto Defiant, and they've been able to take them to 5 maps, win on a map that they've never won on before. That's really important for morale if Volskaya gets picked against them in the future. And they've had to put a lot of pressure on their opponents. They've had individual good plays coming out from Shockwave and from Dalton in this series. Some big plays from KSA as well. And even though they're down there at the bottom at the moment, they've still got opportunities to upset some other teams and make a run. They're never out of it until they lose another match.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about the tournament format that we've been running recently, I suppose, as well, is that it gives opportunities for these unique storylines, you know, these runs from teams where they make, you know, deep makings or deep markings, I should say, into tournaments. So, yeah, it's always nice to see, and it gives, I suppose, you know, it's not a situation that the Vancouver Titans would have wanted to be in, but yeah, they are going to be in a better position. Coming up after this, though, the Overwatch doesn't end for the day. It's going to be the Houston Outlaws versus the San Francisco Shock. And this is a match where, my goodness, I mean, you got to feel for Houston as well the other day, watching that game.
Yeah,
not being able to clinch it out in the map 5 when they thought they'd won it against the Valiant. Oof. Yeah, that's a nasty one. And now they have to go up against the San Francisco Shock. It is not a good time to be a Houston fan, I suppose. But alas, they can have another opportunity to see if they can do the impossible.
Yeah, there's definitely some upset potential here. We've seen it in the past as well, but we'll have to see whether it's possible for the Houston Outlaws.
Yeah, with that being said, we're going to be going to a quick break. When we come back, of course, we're going to have that match that we've just teased for you, the Houston Outlaws versus the San Francisco Shock. Will they be able to do the impossible? Will they be able to upset the Shock? Well, we're going to be finding out in just a few short moments. Go get yourself a drink, but make sure you're back in time for the game at hand.